Hey! So today I'm going to be making a few small aesthetic upgrades to the look of my gaming PC and just thought that I'd take you along for the journey. So I'm not going to be doing anything particularly fancy, but I'm still hoping that a few small changes will add up to a big transformation. So this is my gaming PC as it is now. It's just a basic, straightforward build, but I like it. The biggest thing that I need to work on with it at the moment though is the colour theme. As my current vision for the build is for it to have a very monotone, neutral theme in regards to the physical colours of the build, so just whites, greys and blacks, but then to add some colour in the form of the RGB lighting that's on the components, and also the case lighting I've added in. The problem that I have at the moment though is that the orange accents on the motherboard and the red on the power supply cables disrupts this theme. So those are the first two things that I'm hoping to tackle in this video. Starting with the orange accents on the motherboard. For these, my plan is to vinyl them white. I realise that vinyling is only really a temporary mod, given that the heat from the board will no doubt cause warping and bubbles to form in the vinyl over time. But as I'm hoping to upgrade my CPU later this year, which may possibly come with a motherboard swap, I see no sense in destroying the resale value of this board by doing a more permanent solution like painting the accents white. For this, all I did was find a straight on picture of the board to use as a template, which I could draw around the accents of in Silhouette Studio. I then printed them out using my Silhouette Cameo 2 Final Cutter and stuck them on using the help of some transfer tape. I didn't vinyl the orange on the chipset heatsink though, as I'm pretty certain that won't be visible by the time this video is over. But yeah, I really like how this came out. So next is the red cables. These are Bitfenix Alchemy 2.0 cables, and I absolutely love them, but unfortunately they just don't fit the colour theme, so they have to go. Sorry, my cable management is really bad behind the rear side panel, you'll have to excuse it. It's just that over the years I found myself caring less and less about how the cables that are behind the motherboard tray look, as long as everything looks neat and tidy from the front. I'm also just removing the GPU here preemptively for later on in the video. Oh no, I have my first casualty of war trying to unplug the 8-pin CPU cable. Something you'll notice once I've taken off the power supply covers is that I haven't actually plugged in any of the front I/O cables. This is something that I actually rarely ever do, and in fact I sometimes even cut the cables off if I can't find somewhere good to hide them. It's just that I never use the front panel audio, as you're supposed to use the rear ports for less audio interference. And I like all my USB cables to come out the back, as it's just neater that way. And in regards to turning the system on, historically I'd use motherboards which have a power button on the board and then like a side panel that's just very quick and easy to open and close. With this build though, the side panel is tempered glass and a bit of a nuisance to take off, but thankfully this Aorus motherboard has a power button on the rear I/O, so I can just press that to turn it on. And given that I normally have my system sat with like the Windows side face forwards, it's just as easy for me to reach a button on the back of the PC as it is to reach a button on the front. So for me this method is super convenient and a lot neater. So the cables that I'm using are again Bitfenix Alchemy 2.0 cables, but this time in black and white. You get so many cables in this box, like it just keeps going. You actually get so many that if you had a friend who had a power supply that was compatible with the 24-pin cable that you don't use, as this box comes with two different 24-pin cables, then you could actually just buy one box between the two of you and split the cost. So these are CSR series cables, which are designed to work with various Corsair power supplies, but they have a matching pin layout to the Bitfenix Whisper power supply that I'm currently using in this build. Now something that I know I'm going to get a lot of comments about underneath this video is the fact that I don't plan to use any cable combs in this build. I know that a lot of you out there will think that that's a mistake and that the build will look better with the cables combed, but honestly I disagree. As for me, I've always kind of felt like if you've like water cooled or used an all-in-one which has kind of flexible tubing, then you want your power supply cables to kind of match, to be all free and flowy just as the tubing is. Whereas in a build that uses a rigid tubing, you need like perfectly composed, neatly combed cables to match. So basically I just think that your cable should match your tubing, and as I've got like flowy tubing, I want flowy cables too. Now before I put back in the GPU and plug in the PCIe cables, it's time to move on to upgrade number 3, which is vertically mounting the GPU. I've never actually vertically mounted a GPU before, and I do kind of feel like this is one of the PC building trends that I've missed out on, so I'm actually really excited. Also, I just immediately love that one of the biggest benefits of mounting your GPU vertically is that you no longer have to worry about GPU sag, which, let's face it, can immediately ruin any build or otherwise cool looking shot. I know that temperatures have been a concern for vertical GPU mounts, but as I'm not installing the card against the window and there's plenty of space for airflow, I think that any temperature increases will be negligible and of course will completely disappear when I eventually water cool this build. Oh, and I just want to say a shout out to the Patreon that allowed me to buy this mount for my build. Thank you, and to all of my patrons really, who made this and all of my recent videos possible. Just thank you. And then lastly, I just need to plug in the remaining white and black PCIe cables. So all the upgrades are done. All in all, I really love the changes. It almost feels like I have a totally new build. It's also much more coherent now and works brilliantly if I want the RGB lighting just set to one colour. And I just love how the GPU mounted vertically ties into the look of everything. How the silver matches the motherboard's heatsinks and how the white writing matches the white vinyl on white cables. I'm actually going to be sad to see it water cooled because it just matches so perfectly. Oh yeah, I keep getting loads of comments saying that I need to remove this fragile sticker on the tempered glass side panel, even though I really like it, so fine, I'll get rid of it. There, that's much better. It all matches now. You're welcome. Oh, I almost forgot. This build has a name now. I decided to call her Orchid, as I'm naming all my builds after flowers. So I'd love to know what you think in the comments below about the changes that I've made to Orchid. If you like this video, please hit the like button. If you want to see more of my videos and haven't already, please don't forget to subscribe, or perhaps consider becoming a patron. And thank you for watching.